Okay, so here we are. I am fully ensconced in my composing spot. Okay, so this is it. I have a big synth collection, and I've got a push and a studio in another part of the house with a bunch of gear in it and stuff like that. But when it comes to actually making my music, honestly, I do it right from here because I'm old and an amateur. I like hanging out with my wife and my dog. I don't, the days of me going into my cave, my synth cave, and my wife being a synthesizer widow, those are kind of over for me. And I think there's a lot of people like me out there who couch compose. I don't know, maybe, maybe not. But this is a move, all right? And I want to talk about what it's for and what I think it's for, really. And whether I think it's worth the $450 it costs. This little box does a lot of things, right? It does instrument things. It makes synth noises. It makes drum noises. It samples, and then you can take those samples and turn them into instrument noises or drum noises. It does connectivity and live performance things, right? You can use it to control Ableton Live to a greater or lesser extent. It syncs with MIDI, kind of, more or less. Maybe not bidirectionally, but it does sync. It has Ableton Link, which if you've got a Link-enabled studio, you know that's super convenient. And it's an Ableton product, right? So it's pretty obvious that it should support Ableton Link. You can merge it with hardware to, depending on what hardware you want to integrate it with. And it kind of sort of, works with your live rig. You can integrate it, or you could use it to, some people are certainly going to use it as like the basis of their live rig. And some people are going to glue it in and bolt it on the side. And some people are going to try and do that and be frustrated and, sell it. But that's okay. And it also does sequencer things, right? It'll record MIDI clips and, trigger sequences of those clips, and by extension, the instruments and the samples that we talked about earlier when it's doing synth things, right? But if we come up a level, right? And we get a little meta. This little box is for capturing ideas, all right? And I would argue that it does it really well. And it captures ideas, and it captures them fast. And it captures them in a limited form. This is part of why it's fast, because you're forced to do it in a sort of limited form. You cannot agonize over the thing you're creating. I'm sure wonks can figure out how to agonize over it, right? You can tweak forever. It's got knobs. You can always turn the knob a little bit more. But I have found, my experience is that it forces me to get an idea down in a clear, concise, intentional way, and then stops me from taking it any further. So it captures ideas fast. It lets me explore and arrange those ideas relatively quickly. It's very manual. You're triggering clips and triggering vertical scenes or rearranging them. And it quickly lets me build rough drafts, basically. I don't know what the new hotness is for these things, but back in the day, I would say this lets me cut demos. And it lets me cut demos really fast, and then it lets me share them really easily. And that last sort of meta category of cut demo, regardless of whether or not at the end of the demo, right? Once you have a demo in hand, for different people who different things, that could be it, right? You could delete it. You cut your demo, you listen to it once, you delete it, right? People who make music for different reasons. Some people, make hardware jams in their bedroom for their pet snake, Reggie, and no one ever hears it but them and Reggie, and then they delete them when they're done. On the other end of the spectrum, people, make their music and want to be a pop star, right? And produce it. And so that's a spectrum. So in between, it could be, once you've got a demo in hand, you can delete it, you can shelve it, right? I'm building a body of work for me, and, I'll feel good about that, but I'm not letting anyone else listen to it. Or you could share it, right? Put it online, share it with a select few people, put it up on Bandcamp, or you could sell it, and whatever that entails, right? Put it on a streaming service, produce it further, get it mixed and mastered, turn it into something else. Or you can take that demo and use it as the basis or the recipe for a larger production, something that you're really going to, turn it around. And the demo itself will maybe never see the light of day except on your greatest hits album as the B-side or something. And the Move is really good at cutting demos and doing it fast. And that's basically my takeaway. I think someone at Ableton either stealthily or openly said, I think what we need is something like Note, right? Note's their app for iOS that was for making little demos. And someone said, we need Note, but for the hardware junkies, right? The bedroom producers, and maybe for professionals, right? Professionals, there are professionals out there who will say, oh, this is useful, throw it in their, throw it in their travel bag, their gig bag or whatever, and use it. But there's way more bedroom producers and up and coming, people, amateurs certainly, who are going to look at this and go, this is affordable-ish. We'll talk about that. And this could be the basis of something that lets me get my ideas down quickly and then do whatever I want with them, right? Delete it, store it, shelve it, share it, sell it, whatever. So let's move it around. Okay, so we've moved over to the coffee table. Here's the push. That is a very common mistake, right? I'm a push owner since Push 2 first came out, and people see this and they go, oh, it's a push. It's a mini push. It's a little tiny push. It's not. It's a Move. And even though it is a grid and it shares some of the technology underneath it, it's not a push, okay? Anyway, the point of this video isn't to correct any of the other people on the internet or, get into any fights or anything like that. But I will say that I have watched as many videos as I can find on the Ableton Move over the last 2 weeks and tried to hold in my rage because there's no useful purpose to it. People are always going to compare gear against the gear they have or the gear they wish they had or whatever. And that's not the point of this video. It's not a review. It's not a defensive push. It's what I think push is for. And I think it's for cutting demos. All right. So I've got a little set here. The first thing I did when I got in here was fiddled around with some of the sounds. And the sounds are good. But when it comes to getting ideas down, I only need very basic sounds, right? So the very first thing I did was delete the other sets out, go read the manual, set up a template project that just had 4 sounds in it that I liked for what I do. And I do music that's sort of space rock, Berlin school, prog rocky kind of stuff. But I sat down with the intention of cutting a demo. So I don't need to agonize over sounds, right? I can go in and play with sounds when I get bored with the ones that I've got preloaded in this little template project, which are, let's do this, right? Of simple, a soft pluck with delay and reverb, because I'm doing Berlin school, right? So I want that sort of sound. And then I wanted another pluck. Really basic stuff. These are presets right out of the system that I've tweaked a bit, given them a little delay, a little reverb, played with their timbres so that they are different from each other. And then I needed a little lead. Right, and it's a lead that I can mess around with, play with filter cutoff, drop the attack down so it can be more leady. And then a bass sound. And the bass is also plucky. those are the 4 sounds I need for me to get ideas down. You'll note I don't have a drum kit in here because I generally don't compose with drums in mind. I don't make beats first, personally. If you do, you can, but I set up this empty template with the sounds that I need. I need 2 plucks for doing harmonic stuff. I need a lead for doing a melody. I need a bass for putting a foundation under it. And that's it. Okay. And so this is really good at that. It's really fast, and I can literally sit on the couch with this thing in my lap and my headphones on and start composing. I can start conceiving of what is going to be on this demo. All right. Now, let me go back and load the project that I've been working on. So total time so far spent using the push is about 4 hours. I have drained the battery once. And it lasted about 4 hours using the sort of high impedance headphones, so that's nice. I also, actually for convenience, I'll use these more often than not, even though it's because I'm not fixated on the sound, so I'll just use these. And honestly, the difference in like draw, like I said, I've only drained it once, and that was using a combination of high impedance headphones and the earbuds. And honestly, it lasted 4 hours. It did what it said on the tin. So, you're hopefully that's sort of ubiquitous for everybody out there. But so this particular set, I just started making patterns, basically. So I work in Berlin School. We work with repeating figures that get layered, right? So I started, right? There's your ducka duckas. Right? So I'm working in Berlin School. This is super fast, super easy, and I can do it in the comfort of my couch. This thing weighs nothing. It takes up almost no space, certainly less space than way less space than my laptop. It's a third the size functionally as an Ableton push, like a push standalone. Right? And then I started, just building up these patterns, and I'm building a scene. Right? Does it sound amazing? No. But harmonically, it gets the job done. It's good enough that I start to get an emotional response. I start building out things harmonically that go to places I want to go to. Aww, the dog is doing his happy dance in the corner over there. He's like, come on, pay attention to me. It's only 3 o'clock, buddy. It's not time for food yet. Right, so I build these scenes up over the course of, about 3 hours working with this thing. And once I have the scenes in, I can start doing arrangements of like, what is the shape of the song? Is it a song? How does the song structure work? Point is not to demo this. You'll get a taste of this. And so I think that the Ableton Move, primary purpose, at least in my household, this is 100% true, but I think this could be true for a lot of you, is that this is for cutting demos. And then what you do with the demo is up to you. For some people, making the demo is it, and they don't even save it. They're like, I'm going to go jam. This is a piece of hardware. It's a hardware interface into what is effectively Ableton Note, a sketch pad. And, you're going to cut your demo, make your transient piece of art, and then delete it. Don't even, keep the project. Just overwrite it with the next project. Some people are going to do that. Some people are going to take this and, force it into their live rig. And they'll either be frustrated with it or it'll work great. There's a spectrum there. It can do that to a degree. It may not do it to the degree that you want it to. Some people are going to take this thing and do that live performance with. Some people are going to take it and integrate it into their studio, and it can do that to a degree depending on how your studio is set up for integration. If you're in a link-based studio, your life is golden, right? If you're using MIDI, you're going to be frustrated potentially because this has some limitations to it. But I don't think that was the target. I think the target is Sketchpad for creatives to cut their demos with, right? And I keep saying cut demo because that's the term I used growing up, right? I'm a child of the 80s and the 70s. Some of the greatest albums of all time from my life, right, were built on 4-track demos, right? The first album by Boston was literally recorded on a 4-track tape deck. That's how they did their demos. There's tons and tons of stuff out there, classic songs that are formative for my youth that were recorded with demos. They cut demos. That was the process that was used. And they would get back together with their band. The different band members would each have their 4-track demos that they would bring, and they would get together and sort of share them and say, okay, what can we build an album out of this? This is the modern mechanism for that. If I had a group of friends and we all had Ableton Moves, we could all prep our demos, get together, share our demos, and then build that album out and then do whatever with it. Be it go perform live and then walk away, or cut an album, produce it, go on tour, right? This is the tool that I use on my couch to make my music, the foundations thereof, and then pull this out and either leave it, what would I say earlier? You can delete it, shelve it, share it, sell it, right? This is really good. Now, is it worth $450? Well, I have spoken in the past. I'm fairly opinionated on music technology. I think this sort of stuff is a luxury. I think synthesizers are a luxury. I don't think it's a right. Just because you're a creative doesn't mean that you must have an affordable tool. It's just not the way it works. You can disagree with me on that. So $450. Well, I think that's a bit of a stretch for a lot of people, a lot of bedroom producers. And it really comes down to, can you beg, borrow, and steal, scrimp to do it? And is your goal to have an extremely efficient, well-designed, minimalist rig? Because it's this and a pair of headphones and you're done. And I literally sit on the couch, right? For middle-aged white guy like me, with a career, this is a no-brainer. Right. I want something that is so light and simple. I could just drag it around, in my bag, yank it out, pop in a pair of the lightweight earbuds, and just make music. It's fantastic. Is it worth $450? For me, absolutely. I mean, I would buy 2 of them if my wife made music, and we would sit here synced up in Ableton Link, and we would just collaborate. Right. So I think it's worth it. If you are coming from a place where I need to have it integrated into my system, it's got to sync in. I'm a sample-based producer, so it's got to be able to do extensive sample manipulation. It's got gaps, right? And we can whinge all day and be like, oh, it needs a firmware update, and why didn't they do this, and how do you hack it so that you can use the drum rack, chromatic mode to get more than 4 tracks. I can't do it in 4 tracks. Then it's not worth it for you. I think 4 tracks is the exact right amount for cutting a demo. So if you can't get it done, if you can't get something that's emotionally compelling in 4 tracks, either your genre is such that, like, the mechanics of how music is made for your genre, like, demands layers more than 4. And I'm not saying that's not the case. Maybe that's true. I know a lot of, if the first step in your production of your EDM piece is go to Splice and find a kick I like, step 1, then maybe you need more than 4 tracks, right? But if you work in song structures and you think melody, harmony, 4 is enough, you can get it done here. Especially if you're going to sing over it, because this isn't really intended for recording voice. It can be done, and you can trigger, samples of voices. But if you're just going to cut your demo here, you're going to get the harmonics down, some of the melodies, the bass down, and then sing your part for your partner, your collaborator, or whatever it is, this is great. And it's totally worth $450 in that case. So I think it's worth it for what I need it for. It's for making music in a comfortable place in my home with my loved ones around me while they watch terrible television, reality TV. And that's about it. So the takeaway is it makes enough sounds. It holds plenty of sounds, and you can manipulate the sounds enough to get the sketch done and get the demo cut. You can store enough variance in it. You can have different state, different patterns, right? It's got enough slots for storing that, 32, right? Functionally, if you're going to be doing arranging, you need to keep a row blank so you can stop things if you're going to be sort of live arranging and playing with the arrangement. So, 7x4, 28 slots, but that's plenty because you can mix and match and do combinatorial stuff. The sounds are good. The battery life is efficient. It doesn't weigh a ton. It doesn't heat up. It's sturdy. I think it's worth it. So argue or not in the comments or on Discord, wherever. And really, that's about it. So this is my take on the Move. I'm not jumping on the bandwagon like, oh my God, I got to do a Move video. It's literally, I watched all the videos and nobody said it's for cutting demos. And I'm like, this is totally for cutting demos. This is what it's for. It's a reason to be. This is a TAC 4-track reel-to-reel tape deck, 21st century form. It's what that is. And so I just wanted to share that thought, that idea. If that resonates with you, maybe this will compel you and then you'll be happy. And if not, hey, that's cool. Go do whatever, use whatever gear you want. The KO2, the MPC, the 404, there's we have so many options now. Try whatever. You know what I do think this absolutely kills? I think this absolutely destroys the, the OP1 in the OP1 field. Unless you really, really want that minimalist, they're a little bit more minimalist aesthetic than this is. But as far as functionality, I think this blows the OP1 out of the water. Oh, yes, Bubba, I hear you. My dog is over there. He's crying. He wants something. You want up on the couch? He's blind and mostly deaf. So anyway, that's it. I will put this out and, see if it's entertaining or informative for people. If you end up getting one of these and you're super happy with it, let me know. And if you end up getting one of these because of this video and you're like, no, this is annoying, yeah, you could share that with me too. I'm curious. Maybe I've got a giant gap in my perception and logic, but I think it's a great tool for cutting demos. All right, that's it. Yes, I hear you. I will talk to you later. You've been watching Synth Seeker. Have a great day.